Hello everyone, welcome back to another political stream here on the Moisky Live channel. In the context of this, it's Prime Minister's questions for the 25th of May 2022. I'm just going to start by saying, how is it I can do 3 claps but one of them is always wrong? Do you hear that? The second one? It was flat. How can I not get them right? It's the same spot. Small detail, but even I notice it with my noiseless, cancelling thingy headphones on. Anyway, hope you're all well today. I know we're trying, okay, with these streams to try and adequately understand what it is Boris Johnson is trying to achieve. But in truth, sorry, I got distracted. Oh no, I've lost my train of thought. All right, well, we're just going to go straight to it. If things go to plan and we finish quick enough, I might address Boris Johnson's statement concerning the Sue Gray report, and I'll provide more context when we get into this.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition, Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my thoughts also. And I know
Okay, just going to start by there was a shooting in Texas, and many people have been talking about this all day today. I am not going to be drawn in on this. I saw one tweet that made me chuckle, and it was that when there was a shooting in the United Kingdom, everyone handed their guns in willingly. That's not entirely true, actually. People were forced to hand their guns in, and they weren't a fan of it. Okay. New Zealand also did something similar not so long ago, and that's all I'm going to say, because I know it's a contentious subject. I will not make it a point to, talk about something I'm not as educated on.
I know the thoughts of the whole House are with the families of the victims of yesterday's school shooting in Texas. 19 children have died, some as young as 7, and 2 adults believed to be teachers. It is an unspeakable tragedy, and our hearts are with the American people. Last weekend marked the anniversary of both the Manchester bombing and the murder of Lee Rigby, and we remember them this year as we do every year. And today is also the anniversary of the killing of George Floyd, a reminder that we must all tackle the racism that is still experienced by so many in our country and beyond.
So I'm going to quickly stop this one because it bugs me a little, so do forgive me if I don't articulate a point here. If we're going to talk about one thing, don't use it as an excuse to talk about many different things, because by doing so, you take away from the original thing itself. In this case, the Texas shooting. That is vastly more important than talking about anniversaries of other people that are not here. At the same time, it just takes away, it steals the thunder of it, the impetus, the power of it.
Mr. Speaker, the Sue Gray report was published this morning, and I look forward to discussing that during this afternoon's statement with the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that's one-sided.
For now, I want to focus on the cost of living affecting the whole country.
So this was last week's questioning, just so you know. And with this, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, since we stood here last week, and I asked the Prime Minister yet again to back Labour's plans for a windfall tax to reduce energy bills, hundreds of millions of pounds have been added to bills of families across the country.
I can testify to this. Our food bill doubled in this house. Electric has gone through the roof. Actually, it's gotten to a point where it's almost unaffordable, with 3 adults making reasonable... Well, I say 2 adults making this peasant. It's not feasible. It's not... to maintain a standard of living, it's not possible now. It's now having to go down and down and down to a point where there are legitimate concerns.
And hundreds of millions of pounds have landed in the bank accounts of energy companies. It sounds like he's finally seen sense, and the inevitable U-turn may finally have arrived. So when can people across the country expect him to use those oil and gas profits to bring down their bills?
I'll be honest, it shouldn't even be that much. It's not that. It's that these companies don't seem to be regulated enough that they know they can just fleece the customer even further. If they believe that the profits that they now can get, if they want, from the customer are in any way compromised, they'll just increase the bills accordingly to accommodate for that. That's where the government is weak. And I know the Conservatives say they're not a fan of taxation, but Keir Starmer's going to get you on that one soon enough. You cannot say, for example, that working people are £1,000 better off. We're not, because for that to be true, we'd have to be making £1,000 more in the first place. And I say that because, but you don't understand the economics of Omegon. No, I do. Because for us to be £1,000 better off, our taxes shouldn't be rising. But they are, because they have with national insurance contributions. That is where the punishment now is. So you can't tell me that I'm £1,000 better off because I'm £1,000 worse off. Because not only am I losing more money from national insurance increase, but I'm losing money because food has gone up. Energy has gone up. I'm not £1,000 better off. That's a lie. And that, by the way, is wrong. Alright, in case you didn't know.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing original about a Labour plan to tax business. There's nothing remarkable. They want to tax business the whole time, every day. Labour wants to put up taxes for business. And what we're doing is we're helping people. He asks when we're going to help people. We're helping people now, Mr. Speaker. And,
are you?
We're putting 22...
No, you're helping those that meet a certain criteria. You're not helping people at all. More and more people are having to rely on food banks. I originally thought it was good to have you as Prime Minister because of Brexit, and you got it done. But when it comes to domestic issues, you are absolutely useless. And I don't like saying that about you, Boris, because you're actually an interesting person. Someone I genuinely would love to have a drink with, if only so I could brush your hair, make you look human for a moment. Maybe, I don't know, find you a tailor that makes a suit that fits you and doesn't make you look like you have the most pathetic haunch known to man.
£1 billion into people's pockets already, cutting council tax by £150.
You can't cut the council tax by £150 because many councils have been going bankrupt. They are going to have to put their tax up. Everyone knows that. I'm sorry, but that is nonsense. You know council tax is going to have to go up. It has to, because councils can barely afford what they're doing right now. They can barely afford it.
Cutting fuel duty, cutting national insurance contributions by an average of average of £330.
This only applies to a certain group of people, and it's not everyone. It really isn't. It's a lie.
For people who pay Nix. And, Mr. Speaker, how can we afford that? Because we have a economy, because we came out of...
No, we don't. Our economy is going through almost near a recession. Inflation's at 9%. What's strong about that? That tells me it won't be very long until even you guys start to realise you can't afford to eat at Claridge's anymore. Seriously, you know this. The only reason you guys are eating well is because you can claim it on expenses.
The COVID fast, Mr. Speaker, which would not have been possible if we'd listened to the party opposite.
15 tax rises, and he pretends they're a low-tax government.
It's true, by the way.
Mr. Speaker, it's been 4.5 months since Labour first called for a windfall tax on oil and gas profits. I've raised it week in, week out, and every week he has a new reason for not doing it. The Business Secretary said it's bad. The Justice Secretary called it disastrous. Even this weekend, the Health Secretary and the Northern Ireland Secretary opposed it. He ordered all of his MPs to vote against it last week. And now, surprise, surprise, he's backing it. Prime Minister, I'm told that hindsight is a wonderful thing.
I mean, we have been calling this guy Captain Hindsight for a while. And he is Captain Hindsight, but in this instance, there are very few options available that will help the British people. There really are very few. And I'm not sure what would work best. A windfall tax will end up with the inevitable They'll just put the prices up. The government has to find a way to mediate this, and they're not very good at that.
But Mr. Speaker, whilst he dithered and delayed, households across the country suffered when they didn't need to. What?
Peter?
Okay. Somebody said, "Would the honourable gentleman give way?" I will admit that was quite funny.
Mr. Bone, a man who always wants to catch my eye is not going the best way to do so. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, whilst he dithered and delayed, households across the country suffered when they didn't need to. What is it about the Sue Gray report that first attracted him to a U-turn this week?
By the way, Boris didn't even answer the first question. This question is interesting, so let's see if Boris answers it.
Mr. Speaker, there is no surprise about Labour's lust. There's no surprise about Labour's lust to put up taxes. There's nothing original about his thought. They get off on it. They absolutely love to confiscate other people's assets. What we prefer to do, Mr. Speaker.
Seems a bit ironic for a government that introduced the Coronavirus Act that confiscated people's freedom.
Is make sure that we have the measures that are in place to drive investment in our country and drive jobs. And it's thanks to the steps that we took, thanks to the fact that we came out of COVID faster than any other European country.
Well, monkeypox will take us next.
Listened to him, that we now have unemployment at the listen to this. They used to care about this, Mr. Speaker. Unemployment at the lowest level since 1974. And, put that in your pipe.
Keir Starmer.
I'm sorry, hang on. Having unemployment at that low level doesn't negate the fact that our inflation is higher than it was around the same time, Boris. It just means more people are going to be making money, paying taxes, national insurance, and incapable of living.
Mr. Speaker.
And Jay, no, they roast each other. I mean, the point of Prime Minister's questions is for Keir here, the leader of the opposition, the guy standing up, to ask Boris questions. Boris will invariably not answer them. That's what Prime Ministers do. As opposition, he looks strong because Boris is not answering.
Speaker, I actually thought with this U-turn he might actually get his head out of the sand, but obviously not. The reality is that every day of his dithering and his delay, £53 million has been added to Britain's household bills. Whilst he's distracted trying to save his own job, the country has been counting the cost. But complacency is nothing new for this government. Back in October, the Chancellor delivered a mini-budget that has to be reread to be believed. With inflation already climbing, he said that he understood people were concerned about it and the government was ready to act.
It's very hard to take a man who is a Chancellor seriously when he's on the UK's rich list. He does not understand the issues he's created. So it's an interesting one.
Since then,
by the way, him looking down, that's guilt. Okay.
Has risen to a 40-year high, the highest rate of any G7 country. If the government was so ready to act 6 months ago, why hasn't it?
It's a point. We should have something like this in the US, in each state. I actually said to Trups when we do a weekly political stream together, which also doesn't do very well on this. I really need to make them better. That I would have loved to have seen a president's questions, like legit in Congress answering questions, or in the Senate at least, because it'd be something good. Wouldn't saving his job mean doing a good job? I mean, to an extent, yes, but his job is to serve the people. That's the point of it. But that's the idealist interpretation of what a prime minister is supposed to be, to lead the country. You are the head of state, to an extent. Obviously, ours is a queen, but she doesn't really have that kind of power. Whereas Boris has it, and he's just doesn't know how to use it. He doesn't know how to be a politician, really. No. I correct myself. He knows how to be a politician. He doesn't know how to serve the people.
But Mr. Speaker, the government has acted, and my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, continues to act.
By the way, 2 questions in, and Boris has still not answered.
Put in the living wage, Mr. Speaker. It was a Conservative institution.
That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything because the cost of living has skyrocketed. Oh, a living wage, by the way, is supposed to make it so you can actually afford to live. How do you afford to live when most of your wages now go on paying just to exist? Like, seriously, how do you do it?
Raised it by a record amount. We've raised it by £1,000, Mr. Speaker, a record amount. We've helped families on universal credit have another £1,000, Mr. Speaker. Thanks to the measures, the £9.1 billion we've...
By the way, that extra £1,000 doesn't cost the cost of living increase in inflation rise. It doesn't account for it at all. So Boris is still talking out of his arsehole.
Already put in to support people's costs of heating. We're abating the costs of fuel for people up and down the country.
Yeah, but fuel is still at a record high price anyway. Duty doesn't change shit. It's still ridiculously expensive. You're an idiot.
And of course, we're going to do more, Mr. Speaker. We're going to put our arms around the people of this country.
And then squeeze them for the money they have.
Just as we did throughout the COVID pandemic.
You mean the ones while you were partying?
But the reason we can do that is
economy,
tough decisions
strong economy.
The fastest vaccine rollout in
Europe.
It wouldn't have been possible if you listened to him, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we have. And let me take another statistic: youth unemployment. They used to care about it. Youth unemployment at or near a record low.
Again, though, it doesn't change the fact that inflation is insanely high. Boris, you're not helping the people if the people can't afford to live while they're working. It forces them, by the way, back into benefits. And then they end up getting stung for a while and end up in poverty because they can't afford to live and have to leave a job. And you won't help them then, will you? You've made it so they have to work. They are forced into this position. $7 a gallon. Yeah, it's not great. It's fucking expensive.
Mr. Speaker,
That's double what we're paying.
The Chancellor back in September, the Prime Minister called fears about inflation unfounded. He was the last person to spot the cost of living crisis, just as he's the last person to back Labour's plan to help people through it. Mr. Speaker, it wasn't just on inflation that they got it badly wrong. In the same speech, the Chancellor boasted about growth. Prime Minister does today. We were going to do better than all our major competitors. It was obvious that he was being complacent. And lo and behold, Britain is set to have the lowest growth of any major country except Russia, despite our brilliant businesses. And
yeah, that speaks volumes, by the way, about the sanctions we placed on Russia, that we're doing worse than them.
All we have to offer. Why has his government inflicted on Britain the twin-headed hydra of the highest inflation and the lowest growth?
Mr. Speaker, he loves running this country down.
Oh, don't deflect, Boris. It's not about running the country down. It's speaking about what is going on right now in this country. It's called honesty. It's something you're not very good with. It's a horrible little deflection. God, don't be such a bitch. He's not running the country down. You've got 2 years to election season. Bloody well just answer the question.
How many times did he come to this place? How many times did he come to this place and say that the United Kingdom had the highest COVID death rate in Europe?
Which we did at one point. We had the highest.
How many times? He was proved completely wrong. Did he ever apologise, Mr. Speaker? Absolutely not. Did he ever take it back? Absolutely not, Mr. Speaker. Actually, because of the steps we took, last year we had the fastest growth in the G7, and we will return to the fastest growth by 2024, 2025.
Yeah, but 2024, 2025 implies that we aren't doing as well right now, Boris. Are you not understanding this?
Thanks to the decisions that this government took, Mr. Speaker, and they don't care about getting people into jobs. They don't care. We care about the working people of this country, making sure we have a high wage, high skill, high employment economy, and that's what we're delivering.
He talks about running this country down. He is running this country down. And it wasn't just complacency on Labour's windfall tax, which he's now backing. It wasn't just complacency on inflation, which is now through the roof. And it wasn't just complacency on growth, which is now spluttering along at the back of the pack, because his Chancellor also claimed that people should keep more of the rewards of their efforts.
How's that working out? Honestly, that doesn't exist. Do people have savings? Is that a thing?
And then he put their taxes up.
Through national insurance, and then, by the way, you can say you didn't, but because of the inflation and the cost of living going up, people are making even less for what they... Say you pay £200 a month for your food shopping. It's now £400. So if you're making, I say, £1,200 a month, your food bill's just gone up. You're now paying a third of your salary on that. Your national insurance has increased as well, so you're going to have to pay more on that. Any disposable income you had has reduced. And let's say, by the way, that £400 that was £200 was already the lowest of the low quality on food. Hello, Lisa and Pete. Hope you're well. Hello, everyone in the chat. Sorry for not noticing or saying hello to you individually, as I usually do. I'm a little bit pissed off, actually. I need to... no, it's not been a very good day. Let's go with that. I'm just not doing very well. YouTube-wise, anyway. You cannot say that we're doing all right when we're clearly not. And these three, look at their faces. They're like, you can't be serious. You must be wrong. I'm sorry, but I'm considered low income by comparison to people. I earn less than those who get welfare. I refuse to claim welfare. I refuse. But I'm very much aware that with the cost of living going up, I'm being squeezed even tighter to a point where this, as my job, is under threat. Because I'm not doing very well on YouTube these days, so I have to do something, yeah? Well, even what I was doing making as a cleaner isn't enough. You cannot for a second tell me we're doing better when we're clearly not. And I say this as someone who is on the very end of the scale that you three schmucks aren't.
So does the Prime Minister want to explain to hard-working people whose wages are running out sooner and sooner each month and who are facing astronomical bills and prices just how his 15 tax rises since taking office have helped them to keep more of their rewards in their pocket?
So before he answers that, I'm going to actually bother to say hello to people. So we're going to go up. Hello, Nathan, Gemma, Jay. Hope you're well. Hello, Cyrene. Hello, McTiny. Hello, Shadow Loaf Nose. If there's anyone else in the chat that I haven't said hello to, hi. My apologies for not saying anything sooner. This question, by the way, is quite important, I think. Because, you say we're keeping more... By the way, that was during the autumn budget statement. Oh, you keep more of your rewards for your work, so hard work pays off. I've always believed in that mantra, by the way. Hard work pays off. And then, YouTube just takes a massive shit on it. But, and I'll agree, Lisa, he has less personality. At the moment, though, he's asking the right questions. You don't need a personality for that. But you are right at the same time, he doesn't have much of a personality.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, what we're doing is making sure after a huge pandemic that we are funding our vital public services, which we can. Because of the steps that we take. What we're also doing is making sure that we put more money back into people's pockets by the measures that I've outlined today, whether through cutting national insurance contributions or lifting the living wage or lifting universal credit, Mr. Speaker. But all this is made possible
because of a strong economy?
Because we took the responsible and sensible steps to protect our economy throughout COVID and then to come out strongly. And
I thought you said we're going to level up. I didn't realise levelling up involved, cheat codes to hurt everyone else. Are we all NPCs to you?
Completely wrong about this country's growth performance, Mr. Speaker. He runs it down.
No, we're not. Those numbers come from the Office of National Statistics. They come from the government. They come from the Bank of England. Are you mental?
He runs it down. He was proved wrong about COVID. He's going to be proved wrong again.
Yes, Mama. Just delusional. Mr. Speaker, last week I raised the case of Phoenix Halliwell, whose kidney condition means he needs daily dialysis and whose energy bill has gone through the roof as a result. I'm glad that as a result government officials got in touch with Phoenix yesterday, and I hope that will result in more support for people who are vulnerable. But it shouldn't be left to Labour to turn up week after week to make him aware of the consequences of his dither and delay.
That is a point, because these systems are in place for a reason. If they're not working, then you guys are failing at your job.
So I want to raise another issue where the government is sleepwalking into disaster. With the summer holidays looming.
So this one I don't really care about so much, what he's about to ask about. Mostly because it involves the Home Office and they are known for being useless. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine is trying to get a visa to live here, be with her husband. And I'm all in favour of it. She's a skilled worker. He and his family pulled together the money needed. It was a lot of money, by the way. And what happened? When the Home Office went to check his bank account to see if the money was there, they checked the wrong bank account and said that she wasn't eligible because he didn't have the money. So when they appealed it, they then said, no, the appeal stands. The result stands. And no, you have to redo the entire application and waste even more money to do this again. She hadn't seen her husband for like a year and a bit at that point. That's not fair. She had a right to be here. And she brings talent to this country and skills that we can use, which I consider a good thing, a good form of immigration.
There are reports that the Home Office already has a backlog of 500,000 passports to issue. That's potentially more than 500,000 people worrying whether they will get away this summer.
Now, I will say, at the same time, anyone who sneers at the idea of them going on holiday, chances are they're the same people who support the Conservatives and just think, oh, it's okay, because we can.
So can the Prime Minister...
And you hit that laughter you might have just heard there was Conservatives laughing at this because they think it's trivial. It's not. People apply for passports. You are well within your rights to have a passport. It is important.
...assure people that they won't miss out on their holidays due to the failures of his Home Office.
Oh, God. Right. Prepare yourselves, everyone. Bollocks answer inbound.
Well, I thank you very much, but I can tell him actually that what we're...
Just look at... Hang on, I just realised something. Keir Starmer, fam. You are surrounded by a harem. You have like 3, 6, 12, 15 women around you before you get to any blokes. That's impressive. I get the whole thing of equality, but come on.
Doing is massively increasing the speed with which the passport office deliver, and to the best of my knowledge, everybody is getting their passport within 4 to 6 weeks, Mr. Speaker. But that is because we are driving the leadership of this country, and we are getting things done that would never have been possible if we listened to them. We got Brexit done, Mr. Speaker, when he voted. He voted 48 times. 48 times he voted to undo the will of the people. We got the vaccine rollout done when he would have kept in the European Medicines Agency, Mr. Speaker. We were the first European country to help the Ukrainians resist...
The Ukrainians.
Yes. Do you think does anybody seriously believe for a second that they would have done it?
Some are trying to boo, some are trying to cheer. The worst of it is I can't hear the Prime Minister. Come on, Prime Minister.
Let me say very plainly...
Give him some credit here. He's allowing him to prattle on for a bit. Normally, Speaker would have stopped him by now because he does waffle. Hello, number 1, by the way.
Does anybody seriously think for a second that the Labour Party would have done that, Mr. Speaker? When
I'm getting bored of this.
Shadow front bench, including the Shadow Foreign Secretary, who is mysteriously not in his place, voted recently to get rid of this country's independent nuclear deterrent. And he campaigned to put Jeremy Corbyn in Downing Street, Mr. Speaker.
Vladimir Corbyn, oh my
we
God.
do the difficult things.
I'll give him that. That's quite amusing, but no, he's prattling on.
We do the difficult things. We take the tough decisions, Mr. Speaker. Social care, we're fixing it. We deliver, they
I love that he had to tell the Prime Minister to sit down.
Prime Minister, we both can't be on our feet. I'm trying to help you. You've got to help me as well. And I'm sure you've got to the end because Mr. Stewart's itching to get his question. Graham Stewart.
Don't care, move on. Actually, no, I do care. No, I don't care. Let's move on. Here we go, paper pervert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to join others today to express my deepest sorrow at the horrific...
Hello, Duskplanes, and yes, loud does in fact equal good points.
And 2 teachers have needlessly lost their lives. Many of us in Scotland will be remembering the tragic events that took place in Dunblane 26 years ago.
It's not about you. Look, I get how you can empathise with the situation. But stop trying to steal the thunder to make it all about yourselves. Oh, but we can empathise because we've been through it. No, just say this is a tragedy and, you know, that's it.
Here with the families suffering today, but also our hope that lawmakers will finally act to bring the scourge of gun violence that plagues the United States to an end.
No. The issue is vastly more complicated than that. Don't even try me with the Constitution thing. No. Stop it. Even I understand this better than you do, dickhead.
Mr. Speaker, the report
And Cyrene, it's exactly that.
Prime Minister and Downing Street's law-breaking have been damning. Empty bottles littering offices. Rooms so crowded, people were sitting on each other's laps, and security forced to intervene because the parties were so outrageous. At the centre was the Prime Minister orchestrating it, grabbing a glass for himself in order to toast the partygoers. For 8 months, we've heard...
What annoys me is he knows next on the agenda is the report. The next thing is that, and yet he is, because he's so contrarian, I hate contrarians, he has to now talk about it before the fact.
Heard every excuse under the sun. But now we've all seen the damning photo evidence. Well, people stayed at home to protect the NHS. The Prime Minister was engaging in drinking and debauchery that makes a mockery of the gut-wrenching sacrifices that each and every person made. Will the Prime Minister now take the opportunity and resign?
I think he should, but you know what? I doubt he will.
Mr. Speaker, I can tell the right honourable gentleman that much as I appreciate his advice, he'll have a further opportunity, which I'm sure he will take with his customary length to debate that matter in the course of the statement, which will follow directly after PMQs.
Yep.
I'm not happy.
Wait, did he just say he's not happy?
Matters, Mr. Speaker, but it's all a joke to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has lost the trust of the public. He has lost what little moral authority he had left. The Prime Minister has apologised many times, not because he feels any genuine remorse. He still refuses to even admit that there were parties and that he presided over them. He apologised for one simple reason: he got caught. The reality is, no apology will ever be enough for the families of people who lost loved ones, for the families who followed the rules, who stayed at home whilst their nearest and dearest to them were dying, and are now forced to look at photographs of the Prime Minister surrounded by drink, toasting to a party in the middle of a lockdown. If the Prime Minister will not accept that he must resign, then the Tory benches must act. This Prime Minister, who has broken the law and shown a cavalier attitude to the truth, cannot be allowed to remain in office. Prime Minister, time is up. Resign. Resign. Resign before this House is forced to remove him.
Prime Minister.
That won't happen. The Conservatives, yeah, there are going to be some that don't agree with him, and I know where they are. They're actually over here, oddly enough. But he'll still be there because they'll blindly keep him in office even though they know he's broken the law.
I thank him very much, and I would just direct him again. I think it would be to his advantage to look through the report, and then I think we should return to it after
I mean, the report does pretty much say you broke the law.
PMQs.
Yeah.
We now come to Jonathan Gillis.
Don't care. Okay. Should I? I'll come back here. Should I? Perhaps have a look at Boris Johnson's statement. 1 second. Should I do that, or would you rather we ended it here and perhaps I address that on Friday? Let's have a look. Boris Johnson statement. Let's go with that. Sue Gray report. That's 2 hours long. Oh, this one will work.
We now come to the Leader of the Opposition.
Now, their questions. Are they? Let's find out.
Racism that is still experienced by so many.
No, that's not. No. These are all live. Oh, this is irritating. PMQs. That's LBC. I wouldn't, even though it should be open to everyone. If I pressed play on something from LBC, there's no denying I would actually get a lot of hell for that. PMQs.
Very sad incidents, and I'm sure the whole house.
No. Let's find out. I'm trying to find it where it is. The annoying thing is I don't actually
help those particular people, but I just remind the house
capable and frankly a little disinterested in doing it.
Of the whole of the government, and we will work day and night to deliver it. And I commend this statement.
Oh, hang on. Okay, right. Okay, I think this is it. Is this from 8 hours ago? It is. Okay, I have it. Okay. Screen capture. Here we are. The statement to the House.
Can I just say to the House, I expect moderate and temperate language. As we come to the statement, Prime Minister...
They're hardly going to shout, "What a load of bollocks!" Are they? They're just going to be like, "Oh, rabble, 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 rabble."
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I love how people are leaving. Like, you notice it's not a full chamber. And the reason why is because a lot of them really know where this is going. They know it's a load of bollocks.
With permission, I will make.
And Cyrene, you're right. They will actually get rid of him the moment he can't win. But I don't think he can win, to be honest.
Sue Gray for her reports today.
Sue Gray, and I feel bad for her in one respect, she wanted to name drop everyone involved. She really did. But she wasn't really allowed to.
I want to thank her for the work that she's done. I also thank the Metropolitan Police for completing their investigation. And I want to begin today by renewing my apology to the House, to the whole country, for the short lunchtime gathering on the 19th of June 2020 in the Cabinet Room, during which I stood at my place at the Cabinet table and for which I received a fixed penalty notice.
So Boris is going to provide a lot of context. I do think it's important to know the context from him, but no one's going to believe him anyway because he's a politician, and even politicians aren't, stupid enough to just believe a politician.
And I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, above all, that I take full responsibility for everything that took place on my watch. Sue Gray's report has emphasised that it is up to the political leadership in Number 10 to take ultimate responsibility, and of course I do.
Saying sorry in politics isn't enough. That's the problem you have, Boris, and you know this. Problem is, he's not willing to let go. That's not a hairstyle, that's a hair don't. Boris has always had a hair don't. He's had it since he was a kid. That hairstyle, don't even. Yeah.
But since these investigations have now come to an end, this is my first opportunity to set out some of the context and to explain both my understanding of what happened and also to explain what I have previously said to this House.
Cool.
And it's important to set out that over a period of about 600 days, gatherings on a total of 8 dates have been found to be in breach of the regulations in a building that is 5,300 metres square across 5 floors, excluding the flats.
You're overcomplicating this, Boris.
Mr. Speaker, I do think it is important because this is the first time I've had to set out the context. Hundreds of staff are entitled to work, and in the Cabinet Office, which has thousands of officials and now is the biggest it's been in any point in its 100-year history. And that is in itself one of the reasons why the government is now looking for change and reform. Mr. Speaker, those staff working in Downing Street were permitted to continue attending their office for the purpose of work, and the exemption under the regulations applied to their work because of the nature of their jobs reporting directly to the Prime.
Yeah, Garrett, this is one of the worst apologies you'll see on YouTube because he does have to explain it, I agree, but his form of explanation is to overcomplicate. It's like a Christian tactic of information overload. You just dump everything you could possibly think of in one place and hope no one notices that you've just spoken a lot of bullshit.
Prime Minister. These people were working extremely long hours, doing their best to give this country the ability to fight the pandemic. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that this is no mitigation, but it is important to set out
Prime Minister,
context.
please, just one second. Can I just appeal to the House? I expect it to be heard, and I want everybody to hear it. And I want the same respect to be shown to the Leader of the Opposition afterwards. So please, this is a very, very important statement that the country wants to hear as well.
I'd agree if we didn't already know from the offset that it was all bullshit. We know that even people in there don't take it seriously because they know it's a load of bollocks. They've already naffed off to get lunch.
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
See, it's not full.
Mr. Speaker, I'm trying to set out the context, not to mitigate or to absolve myself in any way.
That's a lie.
The exemption under which they were present in Downing Street includes those circumstances where officials and advisors were leaving the government. And it was appropriate to recognise them, to thank them for the work that they've done. Let me come to that, Mr. Speaker. I briefly attended such gatherings to thank them for their service, which I believe is one of the essential duties of leadership, and particularly important when people need to feel that their contributions have been appreciated.
I think that is a valid point. However, considering what we were having to do during lockdowns, it is not a valid reason. People should be told they're doing a good job on a regular basis. In fact, I'd like you all now to... No, don't do that. No, don't do that. Just smash the like. It is a valid thing to do. Of course it is. But not in this context, Boris. You know this. You know it's not. Stop trying to take us for mugs.
And to keep morale as high as possible. I'm trying to explain the reasons I was there, Mr. Speaker.
You were there because food.
And it's clear from what Sue Gray has had to say that some of these gatherings then went on far longer than was necessary. And they were clearly in breach of the rules, and they fell foul of the rules. I have to tell the House, because the House will need to know this, and again, this is not to mitigate or to extenuate, I had no knowledge of those subsequent proceedings because I simply wasn't there. And I have been as surprised and disappointed as anyone else in this House as the revelations have unfolded. And frankly, Mr. Speaker, I have been appalled by some of the behaviour, particularly in the treatment of the security and the cleaning staff. And I would like to apologise to those members of staff. And I expect anyone who behaved in that way to apologise to them as well.
Many people resigned because they broke the rules. They were caught breaking the rules. Matt Hancock was the biggest casualty. Your own press secretary was a casualty of it for laughing at this. You, Boris, have broken the rules, and yet you're still there. Your excuses previously were, but Ukraine, we need a strong leader for that. No. We just need you to be, out of number 10, quite frankly. There'll still be a Conservative government. They have a mandate till 2024. We just get stuck with the boring guy to your right, our left, Dominic Raab.
And I'm happy to set on the record now that when I said, I came to this house and said in all sincerity that the rules and guidance...
Well, okay, Garrett, interestingly, you've asked how early did lockdowns occur, parties occur. Boris got COVID quite early into it, and he went to hospital. The party he attended was only a week or two after he got back. So lockdowns had started, he got COVID, he got back. A few weeks later, he was at one of these gatherings. Thing is, there are other gatherings. There are other gatherings of people together, and he is there. It's more than one occasion.
...have been followed at all times. It was what I believed to be true. It was certainly the case when I was present at gatherings to wish staff farewell, and the House will note that my attendance at these moments, brief as it was, has not been found to be outside the rules. But clearly this was not the case for some of those gatherings after I had left, and at other gatherings when I was not even in the building. So I would like to correct the record, to take this opportunity, not in any sense to absolve myself.
It went happen in May as well, Cyrene, I believe.
And have always taken, but simply to explain why I spoke as I did in this house.
I find it fascinating that we take this guy seriously. The guy is backed by millionaires that funded the redecoration of the number 11 flat that he lives in as Prime Minister. To turn it into one of the gaudiest, most disgusting-looking buildings you'll ever see. He doesn't care about his job, really. He's only interested in living well. And, of course, by extension, making sure his wife and kids are looked after. And by that I mean they get to spend the money because he's clearly their whipping boy.
Mr. Speaker, in response to her interim report, Sue Gray acknowledges that very significant changes have already been enacted. She writes, and I quote,
Hindsight's important, isn't it?
I am pleased that progress is being made in addressing the issues I raised. And she adds, since my update, there have been changes to the organisation and management of Downing Street and the Cabinet Office with the aim of creating clearer lines of leadership and accountability, and now these need the chance and time to bed in. Number 10 now has its own permanent secretary charged with applying the highest standards of governance. There are now easier ways for staff to voice any worries, and Sue Gray welcomes that, and I quote, steps have since been taken to introduce more easily accessible means by which to raise concerns electronically, in person or online, including directly with the permanent secretary.
That's not because it isn't by chance that TikTok you set up, is it? Because I'm a bit concerned by that. I don't want to see you doing some stitches or, flash dances or whatever. It may be funny, but no. Many people have actually already left or were fired or forced out of their job from number 10. So this idea of a complaints process doesn't really... It won't resonate with the voters, will it? No, we don't care about complaints. We care about what you do. And you've been found to be a liar, straight up.
The entire senior management has changed. There is a new chief of staff, an elected member of this House, who also commands the status of a cabinet minister. There is a new director of communications, a new principal private secretary, and another...
God, it sounds like the White House. What are we doing? West Wing now? Bye, Nathan. Thank you for being here.
...of other key appointments in my office. I am confident with the changes and new structures that are now in place, that we are humbled by the experience, and we have learned our lesson. And I want to conclude by saying that I, Mr. Speaker, I am humbled and I have learned a lesson, Mr. Speaker. And I want to conclude by saying that whatever the failings of we'll come to that. And whatever the failings of number 10 and the Cabinet Office throughout this very difficult period.
This sounds so not apology,
And my own. for which I take full responsibility, I continue to believe that the civil servants and advisors in question, hundreds of them, thousands of them, some of whom, Mr. Speaker, are the very people who've received fines, are good, hard-working people, motivated by the highest calling to do the very best for our country. And I will always be proud of what they achieved, including procuring essential life-saving PPE, creating the biggest testing program in Europe, and helping to enable the development and distribution of the vaccine which got this country through the worst pandemic.
Oh, I'm falling asleep, man.
And now, Mr. Speaker, we must get our country through the aftershocks of COVID.
I get this is so important, but you're now saying this is all dealt with, people. Let's get on with the job. No. You lied to Parliament, Boris. You only have a job because your party back you, and that's a minor majority. You even have politicians in your party who do not think you should be there. And yes, the opposition are going to say get rid of you anyway, but you have undermined the office of Prime Minister. You have. It doesn't matter what the party is supposed to be doing now, the priorities of the people. You as the face of it are a joke. You as the face of it represent the very worst of it. You are corrupt, and I know that stands for all politicians, but come on. Oh, crappy day, Leona. That's relatable. I'm really sorry you've had a crappy day. Really sorry. Hello, by the way. Hope you're well today. I know you said crappy, and yeah, I can understand that. Different reasons, I'm sure, and I would not at any point want to dunk on yours or take away any kind of... No, I'm very sorry you've had a bad day. But Boris, you're doing a really bad job here, man.
With every ounce of ingenuity and compassion and hard work. So I hope that today, as well as learning the lessons from Sue Gray's report, which I'm glad I commissioned, and again, I repeat I'm grateful to her. I hope very much that now that she has reported, we will be able to move on and focus on the priorities of the British people. Standing firm against Russian aggression, easing the hardship caused by the rising costs that people are facing, fulfilling our pledge of a high wage, high skill, high employment economy that will unite and level up across the whole of our United Kingdom. That is my mission, that is our mission.
Your mission should be to go collect your P45 at the door and fuck off.
That is the mission of the whole of the government, and we will work day and night to deliver it, and I commend this statement to the House.
Yeah, I'm not wasting any more time because that was beyond pathetic. Boris's apology was akin to that of a YouTube apology. What I'll do though, if anyone's interested, I'm going to timestamp it. I'm going to put it in the chat. The rest of that, where instead Keir Starmer responds and others do then. I don't really I don't want to suffer that anymore. I am going to though vanish now. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. I noticed last week on PMQs, by the way, somehow we end up with 1.8 thousand views. No extra likes, by the way. I thought that was really amusing. That we got all these extra views, but nothing really benefited the likes or the sharing or any growth from it. I don't know what happened, but apparently that did happen. I think that's really strange. But I would appreciate it if people did share this about and if people did like it, because I want to... I really do want to try and grow things a bit more, because we haven't been doing so well of late and it's starting to get to me a little bit. So I'm going to vanish and sulk, as I usually do, and tend to plumpy a little bit. I've got to order her some treatment stuff. So I'll see you later. Thank you very much for joining. Ta-ta for now.